What up, though? This is Math Guy Steve. In Calc 2, series convergence is one of those things where students often get stuck. Not just because of the algebra, but oftentimes because they're not always sure which test to use, right? Sometimes it's a p-series test, sometimes it's an alternating series test, sometimes it's a ratio test or a root test. And sometimes it's something else. In this video, I'll walk through 5 Calc 2 series convergence problems where we can figure out which series test to use and when. So we can decide whether a series converges or diverges, okay? All right, let's try one. So this first one says determine whether the series from n equals 1 to infinity of 1 over n squared converges or diverges, okay? So this series convergence cheat sheet kind of helps us out when we're trying to figure out which series test to use, right? And so notice this p series one says the summation from n equals 1 to infinity of 1 over n to the p. If we have it in that form, then we can tell whether it converges or diverges depending on what p is, right? So if p is greater than 1, then we know it converges, whereas p is less than or equal to 1, then p diverges, okay? So this one here is of that form. So if we know this one is of that form, the summation from n equals 1 to infinity of 1 over n to some power, okay, then we look at the power. So here, this is a p series where p equals 2, which is some number bigger than 1. So because that p is greater than 1, then we know this series converges, okay, by our p-series test. This is a good reminder that in calculus, recognizing a pattern is actually the most helpful part, right? Just to save us a lot of time, okay? All right, let's try another one. This one here says determine whether the series from n equals 1 to infinity of 1 over n converges or diverges. Okay, so this one looks similar, but the behavior is a little bit different, okay? This is actually what we call the harmonic series, all right? It's used in music pretty often, okay? You can also consider a p series with p equal to 1. So if we go back to our cheat sheet, we see, okay, well, p series when p equals 1, right? Then we know, okay, p series with p equal to 1, then that series diverges, all right? So this one will say this is a p series for p equal to 1, and so that's something equal to 1, and so we say the series diverges, okay? This is one of the most important examples in calculus, actually, because students often think that just because the terms get smaller, then the series must converge, but that's not necessarily the case all the time, right? So we see here, the terms individually are going towards 0, but actually the series is diverging, okay? Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so this one says determine whether the series from n equals 1 to infinity of -1 to the n power over n converges or diverges, all right? Anytime we see that -1 to the n, that implies an alternating series of sorts. So we have a test for that. We call it the alternating series test. If we look back at our cheat sheet, then anytime we have the -1 to the n or n minus 1 power times some other part, then the series test tells us a couple things. First, we need to test to see, okay, whatever this extra part is first, is the extra part something greater than 0, okay? This says, okay, is the extra part decreasing in size over the length of the series? In other words, each term getting smaller. And is the limit of that extra part equal to 0? So we have to check those three things. So for this one, we rewrite it as, okay, the summation from n equals 1 to infinity. This will be -1 to the n. And so the extra part will be times 1 over n. And so here's our extra part. Or in this case, we call it the a sub n, right? So we need to check, okay, is a sub n, which equals 1 over n first, is this something non-negative or not equal to 0, right? So yeah, so this thing is something positive. In other words, each term in this sequence of a sub n's is positive, right? If I plug in 1, we get 1. If I plug in 2, we get 1/2. Plug in 3, we get 1/3. So all the terms are positive. So that checks. Okay, next part is that is a sub n decreasing? A sub n is decreasing. Is that the case? Well, let's see. So the sequence of terms would be if I plug in 1, we get 1 over 1. Okay, got it. Plug in 2, we get 1/2. And then 1/3. And so, yeah, this is getting smaller as we go along in the ends. Okay, so yes, this checks out as well, right? This a sub n is decreasing. Then we need to find out, okay, is the limit as n approaches infinity of a sub n, is this equal to 0? Well, let's think. That's the limit as n approaches infinity of 1 over n. If I plug in infinity here, we get 1 over infinity, which we know to be 0. So that also checks. Okay, so all three of those are satisfied. All three of those conditions are satisfied. If we go back to our cheat sheet, we see, okay, if all three of those are satisfied, then the series converges. Okay, now, I want us to be careful because the alternate series test cannot tell us anything about divergence, meaning if all three are not satisfied, we can't do anything. We have to do something else. We can't use this test, this alternating series test. But in this case, we got all three checks, and so we know by the alternating series test, this series converges. Okay. Now for this one, we may also want to take it a step further, okay? Say I take the absolute value of this series, right? Then we would just get this series would be 1 over n. The summation from n equals 1 to infinity of 1 over n. But we know that's the harmonic series, which diverges. So taking the absolute value is the difference between absolutely convergence and then conditional convergence. And so since it's the absolute value and then it diverges, then we would say it only conditionally converges, meaning it doesn't converge when there's absolute value on it. And this is pretty important in calculus too. We have to distinguish between whether a series diverges, converges conditionally, or converges absolutely. All right, let's try another one. So this one says determine whether the summation from n equals 1 to infinity of n over 2 to the n converges or diverges. So for this one, since we have a fraction and it's not one of those ones that fits perfectly with one of the other tests that we have, we may want to use, since it's a fraction, a ratio test. So if we look back at our cheat sheet, the ratio test says, okay, if I have this series, then the limit as n approaches infinity of a sub n plus 1 over a sub n, we're looking at that limit. If that thing is less than 1, then it converges. If that thing is greater than 1, then it diverges. If that thing equals 1, if that limit equals 1, then we know nothing, and so let's try to use something else. So here we have a ratio, so let's consider, okay, I need, first a sub n is the inside of this limit, meaning n over 2 to the n. Got it. And then a sub n plus 1 is plugging in n plus 1 for every n, so we get n plus 1 over 2 to the n plus 1. So we're looking at the limit of the absolute value of a sub n plus 1 over a sub n. Okay, so that's what we're trying to find. Limits as n approaches infinity of the absolute value of a sub n plus 1 over a sub n. Now, in this case, I'll be dividing two fractions, right? Meaning I can multiply by the reciprocal. So here we're right there is the limit as n approaches infinity of the absolute value of, okay, a sub n plus 1 is n plus 1 over 2 to the n plus 1. But then I'm dividing by this other fraction, so multiplied by the reciprocal. So multiply by 2 to the n over n. Now hopefully some things cancel, and that's the whole goal, right? So let's note something, that this 2 to the n plus 1 can be written as just 2 to the n times 2 to the 1, right? So I can rewrite this as the limit as n approaches infinity of n plus 1 over 2 to the n times 2 to the 1 times 2 to the n over n. And now the 2 to the n's end up canceling. And also because of how our absolute values work and our limits work, any constants can be pulled out in front. So let's first rewrite this as the limits as n approaches infinity of n plus 1 over 2 times n. But again, that 2 can be pulled out in front. It's in the denominator, so it would be a half. But it can pull out from the absolute value and in front of the limit because of our rules of limits, right? So we have 1/2 times the limit as n approaches infinity of n plus 1 over n. And now we have to worry about finding this limit that we have left over. But finding this limit, we know, okay, we're able to use L'Hopital's rule because if I plug in infinity, we get infinity over infinity. So using L'Hopital's rule, we get this is 1/2 of the limit as n approaches infinity. And now we take the derivative of the numerator divided by the derivative of the denominator, right? So not a quotient rule, but derivative of both and then dividing. So the derivative of this numerator with respect to n is just 1. The derivative of this denominator with respect to n is just 1. And so that's the limit now of just absolute value of 1, which is 1. So this becomes 1/2 times 1, which is just 1/2. After all that, we're trying to find this limit and compare it to 1. According to our cheat sheet, right? So if that limit is less than 1, it converges. If that limit is greater than 1, it diverges. If it equals 1, try something else. Try another tool. So our limit was 1/2, which is, of course, less than 1. And so we know by the ratio test, this series converges. This is a great example of calculus where a ratio test just fits perfectly, right? Rather than trying to fit it into one of the other series tests. And again, the good hint is knowing that it's a fraction and doesn't fit perfectly into one of those other ones. So let's try using a ratio test. All right, let's try one more. So this one says determine whether the series from n equals 2 to infinity of 1 over n times ln of n converges or diverges. And this was a little different, okay? It's not a P series, it's not the harmonic series, it's not an alternating series, it's a fraction, but there's a lot going on with the fraction. Specifically, if I had to use the ratio test, then I would have to plug in n plus 1, and then I have an ln of n plus 1, which doesn't really simplify as nicely. So one way to show that is by actually using what's called the integral test. So the integral test, we gotta test a bunch of things, okay? So first, we have to find out that, okay, if it's written in this form and if we treat a sub n as a function, and that's the critical part, treating a sub n as a function where all the y values of that function are non-negative, okay? Then we can take the integral from 1 to infinity of the function dx. If that integral converges, then so does the series. If that integral diverges, then so does the series. Now, critical part is that function must be continuous, positive, and decreasing. So we have to check really all three of those things as well before we can use this integral test. So let's look at the related function, right? Let's call f of x equal 1 over x times the ln of x. Okay, so here's our related function version. Now first we need to check that it's positive for x greater than or equal to 2. Well first, okay, of course, when we plug in 2, we get 1 over 2 times the ln of 2, something positive. Plug in 3, 1 over 3 times the ln of 3, something positive. So these are all positive values. There's no negative involved. So we know, yes, that checks out. Okay, got it. It's positive for x greater than or equal to 2. You can also show that by using a little more calculus, right? But here it's sufficient to at least state that it's positive for x greater than or equal to 2. Okay, is it continuous for x greater than or equal to 2? Yeah, this checks out as well, right? Actually, let's look at the graph. So here's a graph of 1 over x ln of x for x greater than or equal to 1 or greater than 1. And we see that, yeah, this is continuous, right? There's no holes or gaps and there's no asymptotes involved in the piece that we have for x greater than or equal to 2. So yes, it's continuous on that piece. And we can also see it's positive as well, right? There's a horizontal asymptote at 0 here, but it's positive from 2 to infinity. Now, how do we show it's decreasing? Well, we have calculus in order to do that as well, right? So I need to show that it's decreasing for x greater than or equal to 2. So how do we show it's decreasing? Well, we use derivatives. So let's see, f of x, let's treat it as, okay, x ln of x to the negative 1 power, right? Then we see f prime of x would be negative x ln of x to the negative 2 times the derivative of the inside. Now, the derivative inside here is a product rule, right? So we'd say, okay, first times the derivative of the second, which is 1 over x, plus the second ln of x times the derivative of the first, which is just 1. We're cleaning this up a bit. We get, okay, this ends up being just 1 plus ln of x, 1 plus ln of x, that's in the numerator, over x times the ln of x as a quantity squared. Of course, with that negative that we had out in front. So how do we show it's decreasing? Well, now it's one big fraction. We say, well, set the numerator equal to 0, set the denominator equal to 0, and then put those numbers on a number line, plug in test points in each region, or we can kind of use the multiplicities of each of those zeros / vertical asymptotes. Okay, so here, if I set this numerator equal to 0, that would be negative 1 minus ln of x equals 0, or in other words, negative ln of x equals 1. So ln of x equals negative 1, and then now we'd have to say raise both sides to the e power, right? So we get x equals e to the negative 1. Now, for this integral test, we're really only checking from 2 to infinity, e to the negative 1, or 1 over e is smaller than 2, so we don't need to put that number on the number line specifically. So then we have to check the rest of it, right? Where we say, okay, set this denominator equal to 0, that would be where our vertical asymptotes would be. Now, the square is just a multiplicity, so really we're just setting each of these factors equal to 0. X equals 0, and then ln of x equals 0. Now, x equals 0, of course, again, we're only worrying about from 2 to infinity and beyond. That's a Toy Story joke. That's pretty funny. Okay. So we're not worrying about this one as well. So really we're only worrying about that ln of x equal to 0, which means if I raise both sides to the e power, then we get x equals e to the 0. But oh, that's 1. So we're not worrying about that one either because we're only worrying from 2 to infinity. So either from 2 to infinity, the entire function is decreasing or the entire function is increasing. And so how do we find that out? Well, we just looked at the graph, but we could just plug in one number and see, right? So we take our number line and then we plug in some number from 2 to infinity. So say, I don't know, 2. If I plug in 2 and it's negative, then the entire function is decreasing over the entire interval from 2 to infinity. If I plug it in and we get something positive, then the entire function is increasing from 2 to infinity. And where we plug it in to that first derivative. So here, f prime of 2, we get, okay, negative 1 plus the ln of 2 over 2 times the ln of 2 squared. Now, I don't need to know what this value is. I just need to know if it's positive or negative, right? So we get negative, but then this whole thing, 1 plus ln of 2, I know it's something positive. And then here we get 2 times ln of 2, which is something positive, squared, which is something positive. And so negative, positive, positive, this ends up being a negative number, which means the entire function is decreasing from 2 to infinity. So all 3 boxes are checked. Now we can use this integral test. Meaning, let's compare that series to the integral. If the integral converges, so does the series. If the integral diverges, so does the series. So this is the integral from 2 to infinity of 1 over x times the ln of x dx. Now one might say, well, how does that help us? Well, this seems like a difficult integral unless we note that it's just a u sub integral, right? So if you see a series and it looks like it's easy to integrate, maybe checking those things is helpful in order to use the integral test to find out whether it converges or diverges. So here, first let's write this as a limit, right? This is the limit as, say, t approaches infinity of the integral from 2 to t of 1 over x ln of x dx. Got it. Now, again, this is a quick U sub, right? Let U equal the ln of x. The reason we know that is because then du is sitting in the problem. Du is 1 over x dx. That's the rest of that part. Now, when we do a U sub, typically I like to change my limits of integration so I don't have to back substitute at the end. Meaning we know, okay, when x equals t, then that means u would equal ln of that t. When x equals 2, that means u would equal the ln of that 2. And so there's my sub bubble. I call it a subble. Okay, there's my subble. And so now we can directly substitute, right? This is the limit as t approaches infinity of the integral. Now my new limits of integration are, my upper limit is ln of t, my lower limit is ln of 2, and now this just becomes 1 over u du. And so now we can integrate because we know the integral of 1 over u is just the ln of u, absolute value, of course. So that's the limit as t approaches infinity of the ln of the absolute value of that u, and now my limits of integration are from ln of 2 to ln of t. Now we plug in those limits of integration, right? Now I usually write it as something minus something. So this is the limit as t approaches infinity of something minus something. What's the somethings? Well, if I plug in my upper limit by fundamental theorem of calculus, upper limit minus lower limit. So this is the ln of the absolute value of ln of t minus the ln of the absolute value of ln of 2. And so now we can take the limit. The limit is t approaches infinity. So plugging that in, we get, okay, this is, if I plug in infinity, the ln of infinity is infinity. And the ln of that infinity is infinity. So we get infinity minus the ln of 2. Which, of course, since that's just a constant, then we get, this is just infinity. So that means that this integral diverges, so the limit diverges. So we'd say by the integral test, the limit diverges, which means this integral diverges, which of course now we know that means that the series also diverges. This is an important type of problem in calculus because it's not just about knowing the answer, but knowing that the integral test fits this scenario. So knowing which tool to use. All right, so those are 5 calc series conversion problems, right? Notice the pattern here, right? It's not just about knowing the algebra. It's knowing which tool to use. Think about it as a toolbox, right? You don't always need a hammer. Sometimes you need a screwdriver or a drill, right? So just knowing which tool to use, which series test to use, and using that cheat sheet is helpful, right? To help us know when to use what tool. Is it a P series? Is it a harmonic? Is it alternating series? Is it a ratio test? We also have root tests. We also have the integral test, right? So we have a bunch of different tests, series tests that is, to use. So knowing when to use what. Now recognition is kind of, we know these series convergences are clicking. If you want more Calc 2 help, just let me know in the comments which problems I need to do next. And make sure you subscribe for more calculus help. Always remember, math is everywhere.